Hello and welcome to this tutorial on robotic process automation using UiPath. In this session, we will try to build a workflow using the data table activities, and later we will try to join those two library databases using the matching student IDs, and finally we will be able to display the output using a message box. So the task here is to basically build two different tables containing different kinds of informations, and we will try to merge those two tabular data using a matching entity. Here it is considered as student ID, and then finally we will be in a position to display the output. Okay, so let us see how we can do this. There are two ways in which we can execute this problem statement. The first one is directly go ahead and build the data tables using build data table activity, and then use the join data table activity to merge them and then finally display it. The other way is use an Excel file. In the Excel file, you try defining the data in the form of table. In fact, you can define two different tables and finally merge them through the UiPath tool using the join data table activity. So the data from Excel is going to be read and ultimately they will be stored in a data table variable, and they will be used for doing the merging operation, and then finally it could be printed out. So let us try out with the second method, and let me just open up an Excel file where I have already added some tabular data which we can use to merge. So this Excel file contains two different tables. One is this one, which contains ID, name, department and email ID, and we have got one more table in sheet 2 which is consisting of ID, name and intake. Okay, this is a table describing about departments, and the first one was the list of students belonging to particular departments. Okay, so let us see how we can read these two tables and then finally merge them together and display them using message box. Okay, so I have already created one sequence here. So let me add the activities. So first of all, let us use this Excel application scope. So let me drag and drop that, and let me choose the Excel file that I would like to use. So now I have this data.xlsx file which I have already dumped into the project folder. I'll choose this file. Now the first task is to read the values from the sheet 1 and later also read the values of sheet 2 and then ultimately merge them. Okay, so that we will try to do now. So for that, let me use another activity called as read range. Okay, I'll just use this read range activity twice. Okay, I'll just copy and paste it once again. So this is for reading table 1 and this is for reading table 2. Okay, so now I would like to read the first table which is there in sheet 1. So this is fine, and I would like to read everything, so that's why no range to be given here. And in the second read range activity, I have to specify a different sheet. So this time it will be sheet 2, and I would like to read everything that is there on the sheet, right? So now I have to store the value that I have read from these two activities into different variables. So I'll try to store them by creating the variables. So here I'll press Ctrl plus K and I'll create a variable called as table1. Okay, and then for the second one also let me create a variable by pressing Ctrl K, and I'll say table2. Okay, so with this I am trying to read the values of sheet 1 and sheet 2. Then the next job is to merge them. Okay, so in order to work with merging of data tables, we have to use this join data tables activity. Okay, so let me use this join data table activities after this second read range activity. Okay, so there is a wizard that we should look at and try to define some specifications or rules for joining the tables. Okay, so let me click on this joining wizard. So in this joining wizard we have got two fields wherein we can specify the data table 1 and data table 2, and ultimately on the right hand side we have got output data table after merging. Okay, and then they have got join type. So it has got three options. One is inner join, left join, or full join. You can perform any one of these things. It could be inner join, or it could be left join, or you can perform full join. Okay, and below this we have got the input boxes where we can specify the conditions for joining the data tables. Okay, so let us try out with this. So let me add table 1. This is where I have my first tabular data, and I have got table 2 where I've got the data of second table. And let us stick to this inner join, and you can also try with left and full as per your convenience. So now let us stick to inner join. Okay, and let us also define a variable in which the output of this merged data table is going to be stored. So I'll go to this output data table section and I'll press Ctrl K once again to store the data. So here I'll say out data. Okay, so here we just have to specify the condition. So column of table 1 with which we would like to join, right? So here I have to specify the column name in the table 1 as department, because in the Excel file if we go and check here, this is what is the department ID. Okay, so this department ID has to be matched with the ID present in the sheet. Okay, so let us see how to do that. So here I'll specify it to be department ID. Okay, let me check it once again. So this is department ID. Okay, so department ID should be equals to the ID of the second table. Okay, that's how we are going to join the two tables. Okay, so we are done with this join wizard. Let me press OK on this. Okay, after this what we need to do is we need to print the output data in the message box. Okay, so what we can do here is we can make use of output data table activity to convert the data table into a string format, and then we can certainly print it using a message box. Okay, so for this output data table activity I should be giving the output of out data, which is in the form of data table, and that has to be converted to text, and here I need to give one more variable. So let me create a variable by pressing Ctrl K, and here I'll say output. Okay, and now I can print it using a simple message box. Okay, so I'll use a message box after this, and in the message box I'll specify output. Okay, in the message box I'll specify output. Okay, so this is how I can join the two tables, and then certainly I can print it using message box. Okay, so let us run this and see how it will work out for us. Initially it will try to read the values from the Excel file, So now the execution has started. It will try to open up the Excel file and then try to read the data from both the sheets and then tries to merge it and then certainly converts it into a string format and then finally prints it. Okay, execution is going on. Now the bot has started working. It has opened up the Excel file. It has fetched the information and it has merged and finally displayed the values in the message box. This is how it can merge the things and then finally print it. Okay. So this is how we get to see the joining of two data tables. One more thing that we can do with this is we can certainly write the data table that is being merged using the join data tables activity into a separate Excel sheet so that we can view it properly. So let us do that also here. So what we can do is we can simply make use of write range activity before this output data table so that I can dump the data table into an Excel file. So this time what I'll do is I'll try to push it to sheet number 3, which is empty, and then I'll start from A1 and what data table should be written, that is present in out data. Okay, this is the data table that contains the merged data. Okay, so this is one extra modification that we have done to the workflow. After writing the values to the third sheet in the Excel file, it tries to convert it into string and then finally prints it in the message box. Okay, so let us rerun this to see it in the Excel file as well as the message box. Okay, so the debugging has again started and again the execution has started. Bot is running and the Excel file is opened up and the content is fetched from both the sheets. It has been merged, it has been again written, and now the entire content is being written on the message box. So now if we can go back to our Excel sheet, we can see the content in the third sheet that is present in the Excel file. Okay, so let me open up the Excel file. So this is the Excel file. Now this is the third sheet in which the data that is being merged is displayed here. So you can see the ID and the name of the student, then the department ID, then you've got email ID, and then this is the department ID once again being displayed, and then the department name, and then the intake that is being used in the second table. So this is how we can make use of the join data table activity to merge two different data tables and then finally do the modifications and then display it to the users.